Hey, today I'm going to show you how to build an own product recommendation BotPress bot, for example, for a Shopify site. The base idea is we have here the BotPress bot and we have a list of products with different kinds of attributes. For example, what kind of type it is, the occasion, the relationship for the recipient, or the gender of the person. And the base idea is a person comes on the Shopify store and he doesn't know what exactly to get, and the bot will help the customer in deciding which product to get. And fits the recommendation. So we have here the bot, we will introduce them, and then we ask specific questions about what the person would like or what they're looking for, and just walk them through the basically sales process. So let's say they're looking for an anniversary, then it's a partner, it's female, and then we would like to spend like 30 euros for it. And you want it on canvas and should be natural wood. And then you can see here we want the Valentine's Day in canvas print, and you can also check it out right here. So how do we build that? First thing, for the bot we just use BotPress, and the main thing is I'm not going to show you the whole thing how to build it, but because it's quite repetitive, I'm just going to explain it. So we have three nodes. We have questions, we have the code, and we have the answer. And we're just going to introduce ourselves, and then we create single choices where we ask what the occasion is, for example, and then we save it into the fitting variable. And then we give the person the choice and ask for it. If you don't know how to build that, you just click here and create a new node. You give it a name. And then you can write here, for example, text. You ask what occasion it is, and then you create a new thing called single choice. And here you would then ask then here you would create a new variable. Those variables will be very important later because we need to access the data that we store. So I have created a bunch of variables here. But if you don't have created any variable yet, you can just write, for example, gift, and it creates this variable. And those variables will also be saved here on the side. So if you go on BotPress and click down here at the variables tab, you can see all the variables that are created and set. So you can also create them down here. And then we go on here, we click advanced configurations, and we create a choice. So we click A, B or C, and then when the user clicks them, it will be set. Then we also have to click these buttons so it continues in the same node, because if we don't do it, we have them open and someone clicks A, then we can continue to a new node from A out. So we then have here our occasions, the relationship, the gender, the price, and it's all going to be saved in different kind of variables. Then after this went through, we then send it to the next node, which is the code, where we execute the code, which is basically our connections between the BotPress bot and our own Python server, where we have the database and where we can do the recommendations. In there, we first have a variable. If you want to access variables of BotPress, you have to write in the code workflow dot and then the variable name. So if we have, for example, here the variable we created, the gift, we write workflow, then dot, gift, and then we can access this here. But we right now set our main variable of success as false, so that we can later, if everything worked, continue the thing. Then we create lead data, which is basically the data that we send to our server. So we set occasions to workflow occasions, relationship to workflow relationships, and all that. And we take that data and then we send it with a post request to the URL of our server and put the data in here. Afterwards, we get something back, and there we set the recommendation name to the response of it, of the data, to the recommendation, and then also the link. And those kind of things we will then set in our new variable called workflow recommendation name towards it, and then we save it in so we can access this later outside in the text. And after that, we set the server success to true, and we continue. As you can see here, if success is then true and everything worked, we continue to the next node, which is answers. And here we then write, you should try out, add recommendations. So we have the variable that sets in the text of what we have, and also the link. If you want to write something, for example, your gift is, and then you can access the variables, you look for gift, and then it would add in the gift of the variable that we wrote. So how do we do now that whole thing with the backend server? For this, we just use a Flask app. Flask is just a web framework in Python that allows us to create our own little web apps where we can send in data, we work with it, and then we can send data back out. So for this, we use Flask, we import it, and also Pandas. Pandas is basically a way to work with CSV files. So the CSV of the data that we put in, so the name of it, the occasion, all that can be then taken out. If you then do it with a Shopify store, you can just use the Shopify API to get the data, or you just create your own CSV file where you then write in your own products and different kinds of things that you would need are relevant for it. Then first we load in the data, so we set our products to the CSV with our data in, we get it all out, and then we load in the data, and then we calculate the percentage. For this, it's pretty simple. We just go to each row, and if the occasion of, for example, the first thing is birthday, and the thing we're looking for is also for a birthday, then we get +1 point. We always start with 0. And if it's a female and the product is also a female, then it gets +1 point. And the next points we can get is 6. Because we have 6 different kind of questions, and if it has lower points, then it gets like 4 or 2 or 0, and only the one that fits the best and is the highest recommended will then be recommended to the customer. And then we also put it in percentiles, so we can also have like this one would fit you for 88%, or this one fits you for 95% or for 12% if you want to recommend more products. Then we have here the recommended product function, which is basically just the upper part, how this works, but for each one of the rows. So it goes through everything in the CSV file and creates a point system for it. Then we create the Flask admin itself, which is the /recommend, so where it goes to. So our server link /recommend, and it's a post request where we first load in the data. So the request.json. This request.json is our lead data that we beforehand created in BotPress. So where we put like occasion equals workflow.occasion. This we're just going to take out. And then we change the budget into a float. This is just a different kind of type of variable because it's weird in BotPress. They use like a boolean, but we need a float for this to work. And then we just run the recommendations functions where we just run the upper called function, but with the data that we put in. So what we sent here, for example, for the occasion was anniversary, relationship was partner, gender was female, so and so, but for every single product. And then we get back the product that fits us the best, and from this product we take out the name and the link, and we send it back to the server. And that's basically the whole thing on how this works. Also, if you want to build something yourself, you need to run this on an actual server. You can't run it on a local host if you actually know how Flask works, because BotPress does not accept it. What I'm just right now using is ngrok, which is basically just a middle thing between local host and a real web server. But if you want to put it in production anyways, or use it on your real Shopify store, you need to have your own server anyways. So just host it on AWS or Heroku. And as you can see here, it's quite of a weird domain. It's just this ngrok app /recommend. This is where we send the data into. And this is just like the base idea of what you can build with something like this. You can add way more specifications or make the algorithm more sophisticated or ask more questions or guide the user to more kind of things to really find out what he wants. But for a basic recommendation system with BotPress, I think it's a good start, and you can build on towards of that. If you have any questions, just write in the comments and I try to answer them as good as I can. And if you liked it, then like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.